Alright, so apparently it's waiting. I'm going to mute myself again. There's a change in OBS, so it's just going to be a few more moments. Alright, and now we see if we are live. I don't know, streamlined. Okay, that's fine. Are we live? Holy shit. I can't tell if we're live. Okay, we are live. I am just retarded. Fantastic. Oh geez, I got lost in the music like a retard. My apologies. Okay, everybody. So today, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be speaking with Mr. Charles, Irreplaceable Charles. I'm very excited to have him on the stream, and I suppose without further ado, I'm just going to transition over. All right. Can I get a hello for a quick sound check?
Hello.
It's going great. All right, fantastic. All right, so welcome to Ekelux live streams, Mr. Charles, and I guess well, okay. So just for preparation's sake, there was a big video that started off. You posted it like 5 days ago, and you had like a record-breaking 120 views on it or something amazing. And then a really peculiar thing happened, and it kind of took off over the past like 24 hours. I'd like you to tell us a little bit more about who you are before we go into the Q&A. Just a quick background.
All right. Well, I'm a philosophy major at Georgia Southern University. I also have a job. I've been on my own since I was like 16. Everyone thinks I'm a Zoomer, which makes me feel so young. Thank you all. But no, I'm a millennial. I was born in 1991. I turned 10 the day after 9/11 happened.
Oh man, that's gotta be weird.
It was.
They're like, happy birthday. Jeez. Oh man. All right, fair enough. So you just happen to have a baby face. Okay, that's cool. That's good. Ride that ship while you can.
Yeah, like I aged gracefully.
No, it's good. It's good. Coconut oil. All right, fair enough. So I guess that's good enough. That's good enough for our purposes. I'm much more interested, really, in going like just directly into like topics that we all want to talk about. So I've got a little list of questions, and I'm just going to go down the list, or not really questions, but points of discussion, and I've got about 9 points. So we're going to go with point number 1, which could be a little bit big, but that's fine. Actually, no. We had talked about something that related to your school, but we can talk about that with regards to point number 4. So I'll bookmark that. But point number 1 is I wanted to ask about your red pill experience. I'm very curious to know, because you come off as knowledgeable, and I'd like to know, how did you get red pilled? What was it that got you to where you are?
It's kind of hard to say because like I don't really know like when the actual like snap happened, so to speak, I guess.
Well, that's okay. It could be like a steps thing, because that's what happened to me.
Yeah, it was kind of like a lifelong process because like I'm originally from like 20 miles outside of a town populated by less than 500 people in the Ozark Mountains of Missouri. Like, I was putting an aluminum foil flag on a rabbit ear antenna to get a 4th TV channel.
I love it.
My grandma taught me how to read out of a King James Bible, and I went to Faith Baptist Church for school from kindergarten through like 3rd grade. And so like I obviously like kind of traditional values sort of upbringing, although it was kind of marred by typical millennial like child of divorced parents, that whole thing.
Oh yeah.
And so get a new stepdad and move to Brunswick, Georgia. And when I get to Georgia, I start going to public school. And one of my first like writing assignments that I'd ever had was to write an essay about the early life of a certain historical leader. And it was very weird because like this happened when I was like 9, and I wrote that essay and I got an A on it. Like, it wasn't really an essay, it was more like a book report about a book I checked out on the library about him. And then like skip ahead to middle school, and that's actually just like too complex to go into my middle school experience, and it's like too far back to be relevant anyway. But like you skip ahead to high school, all right, and like what I wanted to do was I wanted to join the army and fight terrorism, because like I said, like 9/11 happened the day before my 10th birthday. I watched it on live TV in my classroom. Like, I watched them talk about what a horrible accident it was that a plane had crashed into one of the Twin Towers, and then like live TV, that second plane just, and then I saw the president get on TV and talk about how we never need to be ever vigilant about this like invisible enemy. And so like I kind of like really wanted to fight terrorism because, these are the bad guys. Well, by the time I get to high school, I developed this bad habit of ditching class and going to the library to actually like learn stuff.
I actually did the same thing, so I get it.
And well, like while I was in the library, like, learning things, I got on the computer and I started researching, terrorism and counterterrorism and terrorism tactics and counterterrorism tactics. And yeah, so like the administrators didn't see a patriotic young man who wanted to serve his country. They saw a skinny white boy who isn't very popular ditching class and going to the library and learning how to make bombs at home. And they got kind of freaked out by that.
Okay, so I have to throw this out there because it's really funny. I was just talking with another guy recently on a separate stream a long time ago, like 2 weeks ago or something, and he had a similar experience. Bright guy, also white, and something like he was interested in like military tactics or something like that, and like they actually they did some kind of a weird thing where they had snitches on him all the time, and he didn't find out about it until he was out of school. And so he basically found out that like all of his friends were actually plants to keep track of him. It's really fucking creepy when you think about it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's like mind-blowing.
Yeah, no, he's got like he was saying that he's got trust issues now, and it kind of messed with his head. And it's like, so when you say that, like, dude, that's like a thing, dude. Anyway, go on. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, but like anyway, one of the many things that I came across in my like research on terrorism was the South Africa thing, and like how the murder rate just skyrocketed, and then that led me to other things. It's like it's you know how it's like it feels like when you find one thread, it doesn't take you long if you follow it before you find the other ones.
Oh yes.
And well, like I started like coming to grips with this at the same time that I was having like a serious emotional breakdown because I was wrongly diagnosed bipolar when I was like 13, and they put me on a whole bunch of like psych meds. I was taking like 1.2 grams of lithium a day.
Jesus.
Yeah, and
lithium is no joke, man.
By the time I was 16, like my mind was freaking just shattering, and I like got shacked up in a wacko basket for a few days, and they let me out, and like that was kind of enough to convince me that everything that I thought was just crazy, and I needed to put my head down and just try and eke my way through life. And I put my head down and I dismissed all of the stuff that I had learned in my research as just paranoid conspiracy theory nonsense. And then I tried to live life, but as time went on, a number of things just like kept happening. Some things that are like uncanny and I can't really describe, and other things that are just like not significant enough to bring up specifically, but like just these things kept happening, and the things that I knew but had convinced myself were crazy started becoming more and more impossible to ignore. And then Donald Trump was elected president, and it's like I just snapped out of it. Like it's like I just went, whoa, okay. Like, I'm not crazy. Other people who have also done the research are coming to the same conclusions as me.
Do you have an example of like a specific thing that you can remember?
Well, it's like one of the things that kind of like pulled me into the whole like online presence of the right, because like I've never been a tech savvy person. I am computarded to a very significant degree, and like what roped me into it was, ironically, the Ben Shapiro thug life memes.
That's funny for a lot of reasons. Go on.
Yeah, it really is. And like from Shapiro I got to Crowder, and from Crowder I got to Rogan, and from Rogan I got to Molyneux, and from Molyneux I found my way back to Alex Jones, who I had come across when I was like 14. And from there I discovered Red Ice, and then the Warski Blood Sports happened, and the Warski Blood Sports, I honestly think, will, like, 50 years, 100 years from now, the Warski Blood Sports are going to be regarded as one of the most important events in, like, American political history. I really think that.
I actually, in a weird way, I actually kind of agree. I'll be back in just 1 second. My cat. This is an embarrassing thing. I now have to announce that my stupid fucking cat wants in, and okay, but please continue. I'm gonna pop back. I'm gonna unplug my headphones so that I can hear you as I'm doing this. But please go on. I want to hear more about your general trajectory.
All right. Yeah, and maybe it was like the indoctrination or whatever, but like I never really had a problem with the idea of America being a kind of like multicultural experiment, melting pot, all that. Like, because I was kind of, yeah, I had it kind of beaten into me in public school that like that's what America is supposed to be. But I was just always, well, Europe will always be Europe, and so it's fine that America will be a melting pot. That was my thinking. And then in 2015, like the migrant flood started happening, and I was just like, oh, okay, I see how it is. Like there's nowhere that's going to be safe for people of indigenous European descent. Like there's nowhere that's going to be safe if we don't stand for where we are.
Yeah, I actually had almost the exact same experience. For me, it was the Cologne attacks in Germany. For some reason,
oh yeah,
that just it was really weird because it flipped a switch in my head, And I, honest to God, think that there is something to the White Knight syndrome, because that's exactly what happened. Like, immediately, I don't know, I cannot explain it rationally, but I was like, no, you can't fuck with our women.
Yeah, no,
It's really
that
weird.
one got to me. I remember exactly like what you're referring to, and the New Year's Eve attacks.
Yeah.
Um, but another thing that got me was watching Charlottesville happen. Like, I watched it on YouTube and Twitter live streams. Like, it was as if I was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I watched everything that the news said,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
I was just like, whoa, like this is not what happened
Yeah.
at all. Like, not at all.
Yeah.
You can't possibly have watched even like a quarter of what I saw and claim that was the course of events. Like, oh man, like it was just mind-blowing. I mean, I knew that the media lied. Like, I knew that Operation Mockingbird was probably true, and I knew that. I did not realize the degree to which they lie until that happened.
Yeah.
And one of the things that like really like kills me is, and I kind of talk about this in my presentation, is the fact that we are adults. All right, we are grown people, and we're letting mean names shut us up.
Yeah.
People calling us mean names is enough to silence us. We're not 5-year-olds on a playground. All right, like, so it's like when people call you these mean names, like, you know, it's like, oh well, you're a racist. It's like, okay, well, you're a stupid head. All right, like you should see their face when you say that.
Well, to be fair, the mean names are merely a pretext for attack. The point is to attack. The mean names is just a pretext.
Right, and that's why, like, see, I've Gesundheit. And I've seen some comments kind of like being critical of my strategy of like bringing it up, because I've seen comments say like, don't even bring up the words racist and stuff like that. Like, don't bring that into the fray. Like, if they bring it up, then address it. And my response to that is no. Because if you let them bring it up, then it's not only a mean name, it's also like an accusation that you have to try and defend yourself from. It's an ineffable accusation. There's no way to prove it either way.
Yeah.
So, because they're accusing you of having bad thoughts. So you have to get ahead of that and go ahead and lay it down. Like, if you call me these things, I don't care, because these are meaningless claims. Like, when you get ahead of it, it's no longer, because when you're presenting an argument, you are not arguing with the person that you're arguing with. All right, like you're not the person that is arguing against you. You're not trying to convince them. All right, you're trying to convince all the people watching you argue.
Oh yes, that's been on my mind a lot recently.
Mm-hmm. And so you need to go ahead and, like, these words, you need to define them before your opposition gets to. Like, that's very important. You need to make sure that they're playing in your court.
There's a concept called framing. I'm sure you're very well aware of it, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm into it. I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. And there's framing, and like you have to tailor your rhetoric to the people that you're trying to appeal to, and
this is later on in the stream talk. You're getting into like into some stuff. I actually wanted to go through the points because yeah,
Yeah,
you're
we'll
moving
follow the
into
point.
employment
We'll,
of rhetoric. Okay, so the long and the short of it, coming back to the red pill thing, is that basically it seems to have been a step process where you're exposed to some information, you seemed to have disregarded it, and then basically, yeah, a crisis happened, and you just started investigating everything.
yeah, and I'm an information addict, and I don't say that like jokingly. It has almost cost me jobs because I would just like stay up until like 6 o'clock in the morning with like 16 Encyclopedia Britannica tabs open, 30 Wikipedia tabs open, like I just binging on information. I don't really know why I do this, but
It's
I
okay.
just
Everyone's
yeah,
got their own little tick. It's not a big deal.
I just really like learning stuff.
Yeah. Well, you want to know.
Yeah,
So,
like the personal motto, like a personal motto of mine is the truth is God.
you would make a good
Because
Christian.
pardon?
You would make a good Christian.
Well, like I said, learned how to read out of the King James Bible, but
Yeah. It's just a joke. Anyway. Okay, so yeah, basically you self red pilled, sort of.
yeah, sort of. 4chan helped.
Oh
I
yeah,
think I was like
yeah, me too, me too.
I think I was like 16 when one of my friends told me about that. See, he introduced me to B, and B was a crazy place. But
Still
I
is.
kind of like moseyed around a bit and found my way onto Pole. And apparently that's like what happened to my video is I went to bed and I had like I think 20 something views, and then I woke up and I had like 5,300.
Yeah. Side note, big shout to Goose in the chat. He was the one that actually told me that you even existed. So, and he
Oh,
told
cool.
me
Thanks.
he was one of the guys that found that like saw your video during that time that you were asleep. So,
Oh, awesome.
yeah, it's
Well,
fun.
thanks, man.
Yeah. Okay, so all right, all right. I guess I want to go ahead and move now into some of the more because we're already at like half an hour in. So I think what I'd like to do is just kind of very quickly brush through the other points so that we can get to some of the more interesting things that you were just starting to talk about. And actually, before I do that, let me check the Telegram questions just to make sure. Okay, actually, you know what? This is an interesting thing. This is a question that I think we can talk about because it relates to something that someone else said that I thought was very interesting, which is don't talk about like if you're trying to red pill people, don't talk about statistics and numbers and graphs and shit. Instead, make it personal. And here's a question from Telegram, which is ask him how he's personally been affected by the demographic change in school and work and his relationships.
Ooh, okay. I actually have a perfect example. Something that Antifa discovered when they doxed me is that I used to work for a construction company. Right? One day we had like 20 or so black subcontractors and like a handful of Hispanic subcontractors. And then the next day we had all like 30 Hispanic subcontractors.
Sounds familiar. Go on.
Right. And I was just like, huh. I don't think that that's okay, but I like kind of kept my head down and my mouth shut and just, did my job. And because they couldn't read the quote, they wound up eventually, like over a year down the line, this came back to happen. They ripped the roof off the wrong house.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and well, they didn't rip the whole roof off. They just kind of started ripping it off, and yeah, it was pretty bad. And so I was like thinking about quitting because and going back to college, and then I just kind of took that as like a sign that quitting that and going to college is what I needed to do.
Good.
Yeah. Also, I got chased off of. Oh, Gesundheit. Uh,
Sorry, I
I
keep
got.
sneezing. That's really. I muted myself for the stream, but like everyone is wondering why you're saying Gesundheit. I sneezed.
Oh,
Okay, go on.
okay.
Go on.
Um. Um. Yeah. Another thing, I got chased out of a public housing project neighborhood on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard on Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Sounds about right.
I was driving for Uber and Lyft, and I went downtown to pick up the rides after the MLK parade was over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I made like $86 in like an hour and a half. But
Nice.
I got a Lyft request. I pull in, and there's like I'm not sure exactly how many. I want to say it was like 7 or 8, but it could be more, it could be less. There was like 7 or 8 black dudes standing in a circle, and as I pull in, they turn and they see me, and they start making these gestures, and and they like start spinning their fingers around, like as if to indicate turn around, turn around. And I roll down my window and I explain to them, hey, I'm a Lyft driver. I'm here to pick up this person. And they were like, I don't want to quote them, actually. I could, but
Okay.
I don't want to quote them. The essence of what they said is that it was not safe for me to be there, and that if I was interested in continuing to draw breath, I should leave immediately.
Oh my god.
And I was like, the first thing that popped into my head, I was not like angry. I was not like, screw you, dude. Like, I'm just trying to do my job. Like, it wasn't anything like that. The first thing that popped into my mind was, well, I mean, this is your neighborhood, not mine. So maybe I should just like get on out of here. And so I turned the car around and I pulled up to MLK, and I looked both ways. And as I looked both ways, the Lyft request hopped in the back seat and said, let's get out of here. And I was just
Oh
like,
my
yeah, let's
god.
do that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
um,
All right. So apparently the demographic shifts have touched you. Okay.
oh yeah. Like I've witnessed it, and like the thing is that like I've seen how the immigration, particularly, doesn't just negatively affect white people. It negatively affects black people also, to like
Dude.
possibly even a more severe degree. Mainly because the Latinos, like the folks that I worked with, they and most of the ones I'm referring to, they don't work there anymore. To my understanding, anyway. I don't really maintain contact because, like, who calls their old boss,
Yeah.
But to my understanding, a lot of the ones I'm specifically referring to with this statement don't work there any longer. But the things that they would say about black people, like they would
Yeah.
speak Spanish, but like that doesn't mean I couldn't understand them. I mean, I kind of speak Spanglish, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they really don't like. I mean, wow, the things they would say, they would do a lot more than get you banned from YouTube. Like,
Yeah. Actually, I learned a little bit about this way back in the late '90s, early 2000s, and one of the first times that I ever heard overt, like I now don't like using the word racism anymore because it's such a concocted word. So, for my own sake, I'm qualifying this with I wish I had a better word, but I don't.
Nah, use the word bigotry. Bigotry kind of works.
I'll go with that. No, it's a good call. I like that. The first time I heard overt bigotry against black people, interestingly, was actually from a bunch of Mexican dudes, and they were calling them an alternate word for ghosts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like it blew my mind because like you watch TV and you see like the Democratic campaign ads and you think that it's all like holding hands and rainbows, but
Yeah.
it's really not. Like, oh man.
I don't know if you're aware of this. I'll tell you a little story that you might be able to like. It might be of some interest to you. Here in Los Angeles, the black Mexican issue is freaking raging like you wouldn't believe. I went to a Kamala Harris town hall or something last year, which of course was full of plants. No one authentic was allowed to speak. Everyone was a member of some organization that her team had handpicked, and one of them was this ancient black man. I think he must have been in his late 60s, maybe early 70s. It's tough to tell. And he spent about 40 seconds to a minute licking her ass just so that he could get to the real point of what he was saying, which was, I recognize that what you're doing for the Mexican community is fantastic, but what about us? What about black people? And the whole crowd cheered.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of animosity. And also, one other thing is here in Los Angeles, there is I'm pretty sure it's still Los Angeles County. It's either Los Angeles County or San Bernardino, which is right adjacent to LA. There's a city called Azusa, Azusa. Everything in USA from A to Z. That's actually what it was named after. It's stupid. Anyway, in Azusa, there was a story where a bunch, because we are now 27% of the population here in Los Angeles. And yeah, Hispanics are, I think they're absolute majority now. I think they're actually like formally over 50% now. Anyway, the Azusa is now basically like, it's little Tijuana, basically. And there was a court case that came about where there was like a Mexican gang. They were employing violence to ethnically cleanse the blacks from their neighborhoods, and they went to court, and the leader of the gang was put up on conspiracy charges. Like, it's hardcore out here, really hardcore, and no one talks about it.
Like, I knew that the gang situation was bad over there. Like, I mean, like, but I knew in the sense that, like, I had seen some gangland documentaries and, like, a special on National Geographic. I didn't realize that it was like that.
Okay, so check this. Okay, so here in Los Angeles, everything's a fucking movie set. I'm cursing again. I'm trying to not curse. Anyway, everything's a movie set out here. So I'm sure you must remember the movie Terminator 2.
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
memorized the first two Terminator movies.
Outstanding. So in the first act of Terminator 2, they go to the Galleria. The Galleria is in the valley, so that's one mountain chain up from Los Angeles. Okay, if you go one more mountain chain up, you enter the San Gabriel, the big valley, the really big one. Okay, where all the farming happens. So you can. And there's like a couple of little like lesser valleys in between, but whatever, those don't really matter. So not the valley, but like the San Gabriel Valley. That's actually where a lot of black people have gone to. Like they got pushed so far out that they're now in the desert, literally.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
Like,
so when I talk about ethnic cleansing, like, I'm not joking. I'm not fucking around. And that's not to say that all of them, hashtag not all. There are certain areas in Los Angeles where it's still very much predominantly black.
Oh, well, of course.
Yeah, but I'm just
But
saying
like,
that there's been a shocking number that have moved into much cheaper areas that are like way, way north. And I don't go to those areas. But anyway. Anyhow, okay. I just realized that we're going like way off topic. Okay. And now we're like at 43 minutes in. Oh, jeez. Okay, well, I guess I just want to rifle through a couple more questions as quickly as possible. Well, actually, no. I was going to ask you about your use of memes, but I guess that doesn't really matter. Kudos, by the way. Your usage
oh yeah,
of
like
memetics was
the
well.
use of memes is just about like you need I wanted to do it because like I was hoping that maybe somebody in class had like seen some of those memes and that it would like click with them. I also thought that like if I'm gonna post the presentation to YouTube, like why not be a little memey? And well, it's also about like you need a well placed joke. Like it's one of those spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down kind of things.
Yeah, I noticed that when you showed the one with all the NPCs, that got a laugh from the audience. It was
Well,
pretty
no, it was
cool.
actually the one before that.
Oh,
The
okay.
one the slide with the big laugh was the one with it's the meme with two kids at the pool and the mom, and like it says it says like illegal aliens over the little girl that the mom is playing with, and then it looks like the little boy is almost drowning, and it says American people over him, and then the mom is
Oh,
labeled
yeah.
Democrats,
Yeah.
and like they got a big laugh out of that. Um, and my
Nice.
class actually responded to it really well. Like, I got a big, applause at the end. And
Nice.
after, like, mine was the last presentation before class ended. And I had like, I think maybe six or seven of my classmates stay afterwards to talk to me about it.
Nice. Out of how
And
big a class, if you don't
uh,
mind asking?
say what?
Out of how big of a class?
Um, I think there's somewhere between like, I think there's like low 20s.
Really? So that
Like,
what you're saying basically is like a full quarter of the class plus minus stayed after.
yeah.
Nice.
Oh
Well
yeah,
done.
and they were like really interested.
Well, it is pretty important information, and if it's new to them, then I guess they're gonna want to know something. Yeah, I like the spoonful of sugar concept. I like the idea of making jokes out of it.
Oh yeah, like you've got to because like if you're just like doom and gloom miserable the whole time, people are gonna tune it out. Like you've got to give people some laughs with their doom. Like that's
Yeah,
why people like Rick and Morty.
yeah. This actually moves into one of the things that I was one of the talking points, which is employed rhetoric. You did a really good job of getting people engaged, because I could actually hear like audible gasps from the mic immediately behind. So like you were getting real like engagement from, like, they were actually into it.
Oh yeah. And like one of the things on the subject of rhetoric, I feel like I could talk about this for days because I have a lot of notes on everybody's rhetorical strategies. It's like okay, you know that you're talking to people who have been programmed. Okay? Stop trying to brute force your way through the programming with facts and logic and statistics and all that. You need the facts, the logic, and the statistics, but you can't just brute force your way through their programming. All right, like you know that as soon as you start talking about trying to preserve the existence of white people, they're going to shut down and not listen to you. So you don't talk about white people, you talk about Korean people or Japanese people or Tibetan people. All right, and then once they acknowledge the validity of your points, you then point out that it also applies to white people. in doing this, like, instead of you're talking about white people and their programming just shuts you off, they take in the information, they process it, and then you move it over and they realize that their programming doesn't compute and they start to snap out of it.
So basically, we actually have to go hardline free Tibet.
Yes, hardline free Tibet. Like, we need to back up Tibet 110%.
We must secure the existence of Tibetan people and a future for Tibetan children.
Yes. Something that I thought about was changing the 13th word of those words to a blank and asking people, what do these words sound like when you say them?
I like it. Yeah, just, and because I want to use I mean, okay, so just for the sake of it, way back in the late 90s, I remember, like, and a lot of the people, by the way, in this chat, well, you're not looking at the chat because you're on your phone, but I assure you that there are a lot of people in chat that remember the Free Tibet movement that was going on in the 90s, and a lot of us were like, wait, what? Where did that go?
Like,
what happened?
Yeah, all of a sudden it was gone. It's like Family Guy did a joke about it and it vanished.
Yeah. I am still, by the way, convinced that the reason for that is because of exactly what you just said. The moment they defend Tibetans living in their ancestral lands, they have to start applying it to other people.
Exactly. And it's like, that's the thing, is that they try and paint us like we're wanting some uniquely exceptional treatment for white people, and it's just like, no. This is one of the things that, like, somebody asked me about this in the comments on my YouTube video. They asked me about, like, oh, well, like, something, you know, what about black people in America? Should they be sent back to Africa? And it's just like, okay, listen, like, this is a matter of political philosophy. I believe that a nation is its people. Okay? I believe that a nation is a people. I believe that a people has a right, like, these people have a right to self-governance and self-determination. I think that American black people are often belittled by being called a community when they are not. 40 million people is not a community. That is a nation with a distinct and beautiful ethnic, linguistic, and religious heritage. There's a set of traditions and a culture that is unique to these people, and they have a right to, I believe that they have a right to self-governance and self-determination. I also believe that as a nationalist, that the nation state is the best vehicle for a people to practice their self-governance. But also, as a not black person, it is not in any way my place to try and tell black people where their state should be or how that state should be run. It is merely my desire for them to one day have a home for themselves that is theirs, where they govern them, where they have a constitution that they have drafted to secure their interests, where they have appointed representatives to represent, like, their, like, them, like, where they can be them.
That's actually a really interesting point. I gotta throw it out there. That's something that I haven't heard it phrased in that way before. Is there, like, a precedent to that? Like, are you modifying something that somebody else said, or like?
No, I'm just, like, applying the kind of nationalist political philosophy to American black people, and it's like, when you do that, it's pretty cut and dry. See, like, the real issue is you've got all of these, like, black movements, like Black Lives Matter, talking about, like, you know, police brutality or whatever, and you've got all these different groups. They're crying out because the future of their people is being decided and has been decided for a very long time by people that are not them. And they want to decide their own future. They want, like, they feel that they have the right to govern themselves. And that's why you see all these manifestations where they're so desperate to get people of color into office for representation, because like they want to govern themselves, but they're only 13% of a population in a very large country. But like, you know, we're a big house with 50 rooms. If they decided, like, if like the leaders of the American Black Nation, like the Congressional Black Caucus and all these different organizations, if these people like came together and actually like hatched a plan for how they were going to move as many people who were willing and able to a specific location to achieve demographic control, and then start trying to build a nation state for themselves, they could easily do it. Like, it's just a matter of getting that idea to them. That, like, people don't think of that as being an option.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, I feel like that's an entire tangent in itself.
Oh yeah, like there's all kinds of things, and I'm I have a much better kind of like prepared speech version of that pitch, but I think it's like almost 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah. I don't want to take too much more of your time. There's a question that somebody asked that I really liked, because it relates to something that we were talking about immediately before the stream, which was, has the university given you any backlash? And you had
None.
a little anecdote about that, that I would please tell us about it.
Oh yeah, like I haven't gotten any backlash from my university. I haven't gotten any backlash from my professor. My professor, she said she liked my presentation. I go to Georgia Southern University. I think it was like a month ago. It might have been a little longer. I'm not sure. Some fellas at the other campus burned a guest speaker's book for being like anti-white hate speech rhetoric. And the administration stood by that. There was outrage. Like, people wanted those students like named and expelled, and the university was like, no, we're not doing that. And like, if I did not know that this was happening, like if someone had said to me, hey Charles, do you think that we should do this book burning thing, I would have been like, no dude, bad optics, like what are you doing? But they did it, and the university stood by them, and I figure, like, if the university will stand by them, they'll probably stand by a guy who didn't do anything other than turn in an assignment on time.
Nice.
Like, I didn't notice until after I turned it in, though, that I forgot to include a works cited slide. So I'm probably not going to get an A on this one. But like, I mean, it's the same works cited in my essay, and I turned in a works cited page in my essay. But like, I just want
to say one single thing. One of your references was super duper cheeky, so maybe, I don't know. Anyway, Mr. Pierce.
No, that wasn't in this presentation. That was in like, I had talked about him in my ethics class.
Oh, okay.
And my professor was like ghost faced.
Nice.
But but after class I had two, like the aim slide is where my presentation ended, and I told my class about, like, you need to study this stuff for yourself. I don't want you to believe anything that I'm saying. I want you to look all of this stuff up. So learn about it yourself. speak up, like raise your voice, let people know what you stand for, and let politicians know what you'll vote for. And that second one matters a little bit more than the first one. And lastly, don't let anyone stop you from telling the truth. And I explained to my class, like, there is an international communist terrorist organization called Anti-Fascist Action. They have my name, my photograph. They have contacted my former employer as well as other people looking for me because they are actively seeking to do me harm in any way that they are able.
Gosh. Dude.
And they are not stopping me.
Nice. No, that's outstanding to hear. In all honesty, it's a bummer to hear that they're going after you. Well, I kind of feel like it's getting a little bit late, and I don't want to like keep you for too much longer. So I guess I want to go ahead and like begin the process of wrapping this up.
All right.
The very last point, the last 2 points, you kind of talked a little bit about them. The last two were thoughts on the future, and then finally what we can do. And it sounds like you just talked a little bit about what we can do. So I guess I'd like you to revisit the what we can do just as a final,
well, if any of you listening are students, what you can do is find ways to do what I did. Examine your class assignments. Whenever you have a writing project or a presentation project, and like observe, like pay close attention to what it is they're asking you to do. And if you can find a way to make a good presentation or write a good paper that is a good paper or a good presentation, like it needs to be, you want at the very least a passing grade. Yeah. On what you turn in. Like at the very least, you want a passing grade. But get these ideas to them. Like, don't worry about like, oh, my professor is going to dock my grade for my political stances. Don't worry about that. Like, take the B. It's fine. All right? We need to demonstrate to these people, we're like, you marched through our institutions. Well, we're marching back through them. We're taking this back from you because like it's no secret that our academic system is slanted to the left hard, all right? But we need to recognize, like, if we really love our nation, if we want our country to be a great country, we have a moral obligation to reclaim our academic system. There's all of this, like, there's a lot of talk, and it's got a good basis. Like, there's a good argument in favor of it, saying that we should just simply not go to university. And no, don't stop giving them ground. Stop surrendering, all right? We need to push back. We need to say, no. You professors, you want to politicize class? Okay, fine. We can politicize class too. All right, like we can play this game and we can win it because we're right.
I like your energy, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, great big fan. Really. Side note, someone in the chat is saying that your video has been very inspirational. So we got a couple dozen people in chat, so not the biggest ever, but pretty, everyone's happy, everyone's pleased, so kudos to
you. Do you leave it up on YouTube after yeah, so like you'll probably get a lot of post live streams. Well, at least I hope so.
I might not. It's tough to say, but
yeah, you never know.
Yeah, I stay small on purpose, so I expect it's just going to be the regulars that pop by.
I'm still like mind blown that this even happened, dude, because like this is not how I thought that it was really going to go. This is how I like daydream fantasized about how it was going to go.
Dude, you tapped into something. Absolute fact of the matter is that what you did in some sense, was illustrate possibilities. Everyone's so used to being muzzled, and your decision was to say, number one, I'm not going to muzzle myself, and number two, I'm going to record it and post it.
Mm-hmm. Under my name. And like, that was another thing, is that like, you know, you don't have to act like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, like if you act like what you're doing is the thing you're supposed to be doing, you can get away with so much. All right, like I used to work for a doctor's office, and the doctor's office I worked at was across the street from a hospital, and I would go to that hospital for my lunch break to go to the I would go to the cafeteria and get food because it was good food at a good price. Well, one day I had like 20 minutes to kill on my lunch break, and I wasn't really going anywhere. I was just kind of like wandering aimlessly through the halls of the hospital, like just thinking to myself, because I do that. I go for walks and think about stuff, and sometimes I don't even go for walks. I just pace back and forth. But anyway, I realized that I didn't know where I was because I had been aimlessly wandering around this hospital. And then I realized I was in a secure wing of the hospital. And I got out of there. And that's when I realized if you're wearing the right color scrubs and you just look like you're supposed to be doing whatever it is that you're doing, there's nowhere you can't go.
Well, yeah, because okay, I spent a little bit of time in a hospital like a couple years ago, and the nurses, they're on like rotating shifts and whatnot. The janitors, they're on rotating shifts. The guards, they're all on rotating shifts, and they can't possibly know each other. Like when you get the same nurse multiple days in a row, like that's exciting. You're like, oh, thank God, I know this person. It's amazing. So everything basically ends up on like supposition. Like they just assume that everyone is. So basically what they're doing, what you actually experienced in real life was, hello fellow whites.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, and see, like, that's the thing, is that I walked into the university like I was supposed to. I like filled out my applications and stuff and turned them in and filed my FAFSA, and I did all the stuff like I was supposed to. I went to class like I was supposed to. I got the assignment and I turned it in. Just doing everything like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And like, this isn't it, dude. Like, I turned in a definition essay defining disinformation where I talk about like Yuri Bezmenov and the USS Liberty.
Nice.
I turned in a compare and contrast essay where I compared the 1960 movie The Time Machine to the 2002 remake of The Time Machine. And I talked about how the 2002 remake is just anti-white propaganda designed to make people hate us.
Oh, yeah. You could do that with a bunch of movies.
Oh, yeah, dude. And, dude, you want to know the funny part? Both those essays I just mentioned, I got 88s on them.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
And I was just like, there's no way. Like, I was just like, what are the odds? What are the odds?
One wonders if those professors were like, this would be funny.
But, oh, man. And, like, the conversations that I have in class, like, my college experience has been very white pilling. I am, like, of course the professors have a little bit of a left bend, but Georgia Southern University is the most based university. Like,
yeah, that sounds great, man.
all of, like, in every class, I've got somebody backing me up. Like,
nice.
Everywhere I go, like, it's inescapable. I've had people try to red pill me. Like, it's awesome.
That's great news. That's really great news. Okay, well, I'm going to because again, it's 3 a.m. over there, and I don't want to.
Yeah,
I've been talking about.
I actually need to go to class tomorrow, and
yeah,
I'm gonna try to see if I can get some commentary from my professor.
That would be so outstanding. Everyone would
Yeah, I
love
don't
to
know if
hear
I,
about follow-ups.
oh yeah, I don't know if she'll go for it, but if she does, I'll post it immediately.
Well, I mean, you should think about like other, because your style of rhetoric, the way that you communicate is extraordinarily effective, and I think that it would be well worth the concept of maybe putting together like a super normie friendly video or something, but like actually normie friendly, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's hard. Like that's one of the things that I have a hard time figuring out is what is normie friendly these days because like everything is divisive. They're saying math is racist, dude.
I know.
Like math, it's math.
Yeah, I'm waiting for, because there's going to be a moment when they finally realize en masse that Canada is a colony that was founded by white supremacists who genocided the indigenous peoples, and they will finally go after Canada and they'll declare Anne of Green Gables as white supremacist propaganda. I'm just waiting for that day. I don't even know if you know what Anne of Green Gables is, but that was like a really
Yeah,
big
nope.
book when I was a kid. And it was just this very picturesque, like post-Victorian novel about this little girl that lived on like Prince Edward's Island or some shit in Canada. It's like basically a Little House on the Prairie, but for Canadians or
Oh
something.
wow.
Yeah. And someday that's going to be regarded as like evil and a bridge too far. I'm
Oh
half
my,
leaf. I'm half leaf, by the way. So that's why I know
like a
about this
bridge
stuff.
too far.
Yeah.
The movie or the battle that movie is about. My great grandpa died in that battle.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's buried in the Netherlands. That was like my grandpa's dad. He was an American soldier.
Shit. So this actually has like extra meaning for you.
Yeah.
Like all of this stuff. I mean, like on a net level, the things that are going on right now, like people, because there's this concept that I had in my head a little while ago. It just really, one day it dawned on me, and it really bothered me that people fought, sacrificed, and died to build a culture so that I could be safe in it, and it's all being tossed away. And in your case, that actually did happen.
Yeah. Like it's a hell of a thing to think about like man like my mom did one of those ancestry.com things and turns out like I've got ancestors that go like way back in America and like actually like and also like what I thought was really cool is following my ancestry back to like the 1100s. I'm descended
Nice.
from I'm descended from a Viking jarl who married a British noblewoman as part of a peace thing.
Based.
Like, yeah, I thought that was really cool. But yeah, I've got ancestors that go back to America, like in America before America was America, and like before it was a country when it was a colony,
Oh,
and
hell yeah.
it's so weird to think about how like they all worked so hard for so long, like fighting, killing, working, dying
Yeah.
to try and like make this place into something that would be better for their kids than they had. And that just kept going and going in this like building mountain of success. And then the boomers happened.
I know, right? What the hell?
Like, yeah, like what the actual fuck happened? Oh, I'm sorry, not supposed to curse. But like, what happened?
Well, I
I
violated my
mean,
own rule. It's okay, but go on.
like, oh my god, I just ah, like there's this early 1900s. I think it was like 1916 or something when the Wright brothers invented the airplane. And then
Sounds
like
about right, yeah.
and then like 1965 we're on the moon. Okay? Like we went from the airplane was first invented to being on the moon in like 50 years, give or take a year or two.
Yeah.
Okay? 50 years after we went to the moon, where are we?
Oh gosh, I know.
All right, and it's just like and like I hear these leftists chant white men are colonizers, and I'm just like, yeah, Mars is next. Like
Love it.
like let's do it. Like let's do it.
Yeah.
Like
Actually,
make it happen, people.
My
Like,
my response to that now is you're welcome. That's my response. You're welcome. You're welcome for the electricity. You're welcome for the water. You're welcome for the clean streets. You're welcome for the low crime. You're welcome. I'd like a thank you now.
Air conditioning.
Exactly. Thank you. Please say thank you. We have helped you. Thank you. I want to thank you.
Air conditioning by itself adds like 10 years to your life expectancy. If you have air conditioning in your workplace and your home.
Yeah. Or geez, what do you call? Because I would like to thank you for the language that you're speaking. You are speaking a language that my people made. So I'd like to thank you.
Yeah, like, oh man. The thank yous are endless, and it's like, and that kind of goes back into like the like what you do in there. I get it. It's I kind of came across that kind of thing when the cultural appropriation was being talked about. They don't really talk about that too much anymore because they realize that's a fool's errand to try and pursue that rhetorical route.
Well, yeah, because that one kid in Portland, white guy with dreads, which I think is a silly look, but whatever he wants to do, I don't really care. But he got shit from this black chick. She was like, "How dare you have dreadlocks? My people, blah blah thing." And it's like, no one was on her side. Like 0 people were on her side.
Yeah, because in that moment, I think I saw a clip of that video that you're referring to. It might be a different video that's, it's that occurrence shouldn't be as common as it is, but
yeah.
The idea of just like you're just freaking out on this stranger for no reason other than they have a haircut.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? You sound like it's one of the crazy things is that like the left used to like it used to be like the like right wingers who were saying to the left, get a haircut or like, that kind of thing. And now it's flipped.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. It's actually one of the reasons why I go gray man so much. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm gonna LARP as a white guy, which is convenient because I am. And it's like, as long as I just don't like do stuff that makes me noticeable, like I can just wander around the city. But like, it's just weird. It's because, gosh. I'm kind of blue-pilled still. I'm kind of a normie still. I still count myself as a liberal, but like, yeah, like I used to like hip-hop. I can't quote hip-hop lyrics. I'll get attacked in the streets immediately. So it's like, oh, all right, there went that. So now I just listen to Steely Dan because no one will bother me if I listen to fucking Steely Dan. Anyway. All right. I've been meaning to shut stream down. I'd like to chit chat for just a couple more minutes off stream. So
all right.
I'm going to shut her down, and then we can chit chat for just a minute. I'd like to go ahead and thank everybody in the chat for popping by. A special thank you to Goose for introducing me to the existence of Charles, and to everybody else. Yeah, great to see you all. Seriously, it's been wonderful. And finally, Charles, before I actually play the outro track, is there anything that you wanted to plug for the chat? Anything that you wanted to leave us with?
If you're patriotic American citizens who are interested in getting involved, you should look into the American Identity Movement.
I love it. I love it. I'll look into that and find a link, and I'll post about it. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and play the outro track, and I guess that about does it. I'm gonna close it out with the final words of read Galatians and get woke, and also floss.